We read in Luke chapter 5, beginning at verse 12, the account of a man with an advanced case of leprosy. Now we know that lepers were kept separate from the rest of the community. This was a way of keeping that horrible disease at bay. We may understand it perhaps a little more now, having experienced the ravages of COVID-19 over the last couple of years or so. Given the opportunity, it spreads very quickly, and that's why there are so many communities who have been in lockdown, and people who have been impacted in big ways, having been in isolation until it was safe to re-emerge into the community. I also understand that the separation, in some ways, is worse than the disease, although thankfully we have good communication in our day. Back in the time of Jesus, if you had leprosy, you were totally banished, not just for a week or two, but for life. And the best that you might hope for would be to have a few others around who could keep company with you. But those others also had leprosy. I did read that you were not even able to keep a dog for company, as it may carry the disease back into the wider population. Oh, what a horrible way to live. Or should I say exist? Because there's not a lot of living when someone is inflicted with leprosy. Luke the doctor gives an account of a man with a severe case of leprosy. He'd been separated from his wife and family, no doubt, for some time. He relied upon others bringing food to a drop-off point for him. It was how he was able to survive. There were no exceptions. Lepers were not allowed to get close to anyone else at all. Now this unnamed man, well, he was in a bad way in every way. If anyone happened to come near to someone with leprosy, they had to call out, "Unclean! Unclean!" As it happened, one day when this man looked up, he noticed a small crowd of people walking along the road with a man whom they referred to as Jesus. Jesus. He's heard about him. The news of the miracles that Jesus had performed have already reached what was left of his ears. He would love to meet Jesus. And as this small crowd, Jesus and his followers, drew closer to him, he was compelled to shout out, "Unclean! Unclean!" As always happens, the people with Jesus, they step back a bit. Yes, he's seen it many times before. He could actually see the fear in their eyes. He understands. If the truth were to be told, he himself would go along with them as well, were the roles reversed. But then something strange happens. Even as the others step away, Jesus comes closer. "Unclean!" the man shouts again, this time louder. "Unclean! Jesus, I'm unclean!" But Jesus kept coming. Doesn't he know the law, the man thought to himself? If Jesus gets any closer, he will become unclean himself. And the man begins to cover himself with the rags that he's wearing so that he can hobble away from Jesus. But by then, Jesus is close enough so that he can look into the eyes of that man. And this man sees something he hasn't seen in another human being for many, many years. He doesn't see repugnance. He sees concern. He doesn't see fear. He sees sympathy. He doesn't see rejection. He sees love. And when he saw this in the eyes of Jesus, he fell on his face, and the scriptures say he implored him, saying, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." The passage says that Jesus reached out and touched him. And Jesus simply said, "I am willing, be healed." Now listen to this. The scripture says instantly the leprosy disappeared. Jesus then sent him off to the priest for confirmation of that healing, and he asked him not to tell anyone. All right. This man who had given up hope so long ago was given a brand new start. He just had to tell others. Besides, people were going to be asking questions anyway. Do you ever feel like you're a leper? Do you ever feel mistreated? Overlooked perhaps? Maybe looked down upon? Jesus is saying the same thing to you. I am here with you. I sympathise with you when no one else does. I understand. I stand with you. I love you. Do you sometimes feel like a leper? Call out to Jesus to make you clean. Implore him, as the scripture says, to help make you clean, to change you, to cleanse you. Come to him saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. See how Jesus responds? In Luke chapter 5, verse 13, Jesus put out his hand and touched him, saying, I'm willing, be cleansed. And immediately that leprosy left him. I love this about Jesus. Do you see it? Jesus put out his hand and touched him. He touched me and he made me whole. I trust that you have a wonderful week, a week full of blessings, so that you can bless others through that week.